All right, thank you so much. So we have an exciting panel with us. As you heard, that this panel would discuss some of the so-called high-end issues in terms of the venture capitals and sovereign fund in the agri-food investments. Now the thing is that, do we have investments in the agri-food systems? Of course, if you look at the UAE, Gulf countries, and similarly placed, yes, there is loads and loads of private sector. There are very good financing and investment vehicles in general, and of course you have an interest from the sovereign funds as well, getting into the development landscape. But have we found a balance? Have we found an ideal situation that how much of the venture capital versus sovereign funds should be there or are there, to start with? And is that the solution towards this financing and the investment calls that everyone does? Of course, the third aspect would be that how much this would be applicable in the countries that are a bit dry of the investment and financing, particularly the developing countries. Now, we have three leading experts with us in order to discuss that. I would not go into their profiles and CVs because you have seen that, and they are all well known in their fields. We have with us His Excellency Dr. Obaid Al Zaabi. He is chairman of the board of the Arab Authority for Agriculture, Investment and Development. I think many of you would know it's a premium institution in terms of investments in the agriculture. Then next to him we have Søren, if I pronounce correctly, Søren? Okay. Søren well, I will not venture for your last name, please, if you allow me.
Kannik-Marquardsen.
Okay, thank you. He's the Minister Counselor for the Food and Agriculture and Fisheries for the MENA region in the Royal Danish Consulate, Dubai. And then we have Dr. Samer Muhammed Kirresh. He's Economic Advisor and Senior Investment Specialist at the Abu Dhabi Agriculture Authority for Agriculture and Food Safety Authority. Now, with this panel, since we have the practitioner, analysts, and people on ground, we'll try to start with some of so-called structured questions, but then later on we might go into some of the discussions, and in case the audience is still not sleeping until that time, we will ask some questions from the audience as well. No, they are not. I can see at least some smiles, so that means people are still enjoying this one. Thank you so much, audience. A big hand for you. Okay, let's start with the questions because we have a very short time, I'm told. So let's start with a bigger picture. And Dr. Obaid, who would be better than you to take us through, from your experience, that what do you think are the major trends in the agri-food investments that you have observed, of course, as a chairman of the AAAID, and in general, in the recent past, and how do you see the next 10 years, where are these investments coming from? How do you see the sector evolving?
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody here, and thanks for attending the sessions today. I'm proud to be here also among the esteemed delegates, and the question is critical. It's touched the nerve actually, but I could answer it in a brief statements. From our experience financing agriculture projects in entire Arab world, there is a challenge and there is potentials as well. We are using a band's range of financing tools, it ranging from greenfields, full equity financings, and gradually it goes to the revolving loans, microfinance, and also we are using co-fundings with prestigious funds just like yours and others. Also, we have established incubators. We have established revolving developments loans with co-op in some of the countries like Jordans, Mauritania, Sudan's, and Comoros Islands as well. The if you are working with the develop agriculture and you have strategic goals of, develop the society in these countries, you will facing with a range of challenges. The ultimate one is pertaining to the farmer himself. He needs more skills to be, prepared for taking care of his farms. He needs, management skills and some technologies using in his farms. It depends, what the size of projects. If it is, a mega project, big project, and you have partners on the grounds with you, so the challenge will be the regulations itself. So you need a society or the country pertaining a solid financial regime, such as disclosure, freeing the movements of capitals, transferring of profits of these projects, taxation regime, etc. If you are financing microfinance directed to the small farmers, of course you will go into mix with these challenges, other challenge connected with the skills of these farmers. So you need to be with him on the grounds, give him, skills of management, a skill of using technology, etc. So this is the brief, the challenge. Potentials, of course, there is a potentials. With nowadays technology, we have, the bio farmings, the biotechnology, the smart farmings, the artificial intelligence techniques and skills using to grow the crops and, cultivations, the agriculture. Beside this, you have also the developments in financing, management skills, softwares we can use in a way of make these projects very successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zaabi. I think this is, of course, you have alluded to this so-called advanced techniques and things like that, but probably there is, let's say, a large segment still of the farmers or the agri-producers who may not be able to access that. And we have to give a lot of enabling environment. And for that, if I can request Dr. Samer to share your experience from the public sector investments, that what policies or the frameworks can help attract both the venture capital and sovereign investments into the agri-food ecosystems. What are the enabling so-called policies or benchmarks or the frameworks in your experience?
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, we have to agree that the venture capital is depend on the rule of high risk, high return. This is the first thing that we can go from. And attracting both types of investors require a clear and predictable investment environment. Here, the governments play a vital role on this. We can cite some of these facts that the government can do to attract these investments. First of all, PPP, Public-Private Partnership Framework. Public-Private Partnership Framework, it could cost zero indirect cost for the government. So direct cost almost zero, so we can start from there. In Abu Dhabi, we have to benefit as well of the law number 2 of 2019, which put the regulations of partnership between the public and the private sector, which establish a clear framework and to govern the PPP, and this law encourage private sector participation in strategic and development projects. This is, I think, that the first framework that we can start with, and it will not be costly. Then we can go for targeted incentives, such as investment scheme, blended finance. Blended finance, we mean mixed finance or hybrid finance between the government and the private sector, and access to land as well. Some of these incentives exist on Abu Dhabi level from government entities. Then I think that we can go for regulatory clarity and digital platform. I think that there is on Abu Dhabi level, there is a group of work and committee to invest or to search about how to enhance the investors' journey, licensing and project pipelines. Then the most important as well, we have to stick with the national alignment. So ensuring investments support food security goals, sustainability standard, and local value chain development. Abu Dhabi government, included ADAFSA, is already aligned with the national food security strategy. And the entities show how smart policy coordination attract both agile venture funds and strategic sovereign capital to build a robust agri-food ecosystem. I think that these some suggestion how we can put the framework and how we can go forward. From my point of view, I think that the PPP is the most important now.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, this, what we can call the ingredients for an enabling framework and what's being done. Now let's stay on the same tangent and, take some best practices from Europe as well. We have Søren with us, who, as I mentioned, is representing Denmark, but Søren, will request your experience from Europe, or let's say Scandinavia in particular, where these things are very well structured, and particularly, the investments that are driving the innovation. So if you can share with us your experience from Europe or Scandinavia or Denmark in particular, on what are the structure of the investments. Is it more like the sovereign funds who are driving that innovation, or the private finance in form of the venture capitals and so on and so forth? So what would you like to share as a best practice with all of us, which is applicable not only in our region, in the Gulf, but beyond that?
Okay, thank you. It's good to see everybody here. I hope I'm audible. One thing is to talk about investments. If you have a bankable technology, bankable product, people will invest. So what we in Denmark has done is to create the triple helix system, where government work with academia, who works with industries closely together to foster innovation, and then have the right investment available at the right time. So in the beginning, you will have government funds helping on startups, setting up cluster approaches, nurturing an opportunity. I was just in Denmark because I heard that there was some plans for agriculture here, and Denmark pioneered RAS technology and land-based agriculture farming. So I went to have a look at Danish Technology University. Now, DTU Aqua is placed at the North Sea Science Park, far away from Copenhagen, but where all the technology providers are. And they have then created an environment where startups can start up. Even when they grow bigger, they will have researchers working there within the DTU. And having funding available both from companies who are looking into scaling up new technologies, but also from government and others. Then when you come later, I thought it was interesting to see power play, venture capital against sovereign fund. I think you need different kind of capital at different times. So the most important thing for a venture fund is that the company pass a valley of death, and once they get into grade 7 level, you can invest it, you can scale it. Once you have grown it up and it becomes viable, then the sovereign fund, the pension, the institutional investor can then have a longer view and then buy into the company. Another way that we have done is also we have tried when it comes to agriculture to commercialize it a little bit by having companies operate large, say, 1,700 hectare farms, which are professional managed, where you can invest into those and then get an insight into how do you do regenerative farming, how do you use the latest technology. That could also be something that Abu Dhabi could look into, that you can then, by having large-scale farming and investing into that in other places, you can basically learn how do we do sustainable farming, how do we get a AAA rating on sustainability, how do we get a B Corp, how do we develop our agriculture. We also have venture funds which are investing into level 7 agricultural companies with the aim to scaling it up in the UAE. Because we saw with COVID that food security is a must. It doesn't matter how many agreements you have worldwide, if the boxes that is running on the shipping lines are everywhere but here, it doesn't matter, right? So you need to build up a food security, and I see that especially UAE and Abu Dhabi is doing a great job in trying to find out how do we scale up our local manufacturing, how do we get protein and food closer to the consumer. So did that answer your questions?
Well, partly, because we will not let you off the hook for the second round. But I think, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Søren, for that. But I think if audience is still, let's say, listening to us, one would think that, there is an enabling system or infrastructure, and there is a finance as well. But still, we have to unpack all of these things and see how it works. By the way, from the venture fund or venture financing, I have a lighter note that in some of the GCC countries, we have adventure funding as well, not just venture funding. There are some hobby farmers who get funding, so we have to address that as well, but that's on the lighter side. Okay, now let's go to the second round of questions, consolidating the discussion.
Yeah, I can add to this point, the farmers, sometimes, the financial inclusion is a must.
Yes.
Because, basically if a farmer go into the bank obtaining, some facility lines, he couldn't get it because, he doesn't have, collaterals enough to get the approvals to finance his farms or, the finance new projects as the green fields, even the brown fields, sometimes if it is, the size is small. This is why we need, we have invented, hybrids, as, gentleman mentions, and, to try to elevate, the ability of the farmers to obtain, finance on time. That is the way, we are try to for some time, give him a short financings or sometime revolving loans, just to make him, durate a life, for his crops and get the productions on time.
That is great, Dr. Al Zaabi. In fact, that was my second question. That yes, what matters? No. I mean, exactly. You have pointed on the most important thing. What matters the most? Is it the size of the investment or the fund, let's say, going into that, or how specifically that is tailored? Because point is that, for the big financing or investors, tailoring may not be a luxury that they can afford because they go with, let's say, in tens of millions or hundreds of millions, and for them, they need some other implementation agencies. But then on the other side, there may not be many off-takers of these big investments. So there's always a balance. In your experience, what works better, and in particular, not for the countries like Emirates or GCC, because they're very advanced markets in general in terms of financial instruments as well, but globally speaking, what would you think would be an ideal combination between the large investments, such as the sovereign funds and BIGs, or the tailored investments at the micro levels? Because the point is that, and I think, Dr. Samer, in your discussion, and probably you will cover that as well, there is financing available with the banks, but there are no borrowers for that, correct? Or let's say in most of the cases in terms of loans, because there is a credit rationing for the agriculture in many countries, but they cannot be implemented. So now we are getting to the practical side. So starting with Dr. Al Zaabi, what do you think would be a better, let's say, if you have to transform the agri-food system of 10 countries, what would you advise? Go big or go specific and tailored?
As I said, referring to my points, financing agriculture, it's very specialized, projects. It needs, even the finance house to understand, the nature of this business. It will not reap, recently, and there is a challenge, So I think the mixture of, sovereign funds and, local financier existing on the grounds, that's work fine with, financing agriculture. But at the, the structure of financing nowadays, we have international funds working in, for example, in Middle East, as we are working in these markets. We've been discussed with these, funds. The one of all these funds lacking of is the technical assistance. They don't have technical assistance arms. This is why in AAAID we have created technical assistance. So, and we invited the funds to, cooperate with us because we have, 50 years experience on the grounds, and we have, talents, a good experience, professionals, doctors and engineers in agriculture. They can provide the technical assistance. If you are here is the point. If you are a charity-based and you are heading developments and throw the cash on the grounds and, get rid of it and, put it on the statistics, that is something else. This is another story. But if you are really mean to develop, the society and get rich to the people there, elevate the poverty, for examples, increase the incomes, you have a positive effect on the welfare of the society, then the story is you need to be on the grounds as well. It's not enough to financing and wait for the return of your capitals and interest. You need to be there, support and provide ultimate support to the farmers. This is my recommendations. But of course, as I have mentioned, the tools is we have a variety of tools. We have the private equity funds, we have venture capitals funds, we have sovereign funds, public funds as well. We have also sort of schemes. Recently, we are thinking to launch crowdfundings as well, platforms to target that's a small project. It depends. It's very between. It depends on the size of projects and what is your headings as strategic to finance these a country or individuals or institutional investors. It very what the tactical and what the tools you will going to use. What I'm going to say is as the underlying points here is agriculture is very specified, very professional financings, need carefully and need teams on the grounds. That is the advice we have learned from our experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Al Zaabi. I think you have alluded to two very important points. One, that it is not just the financing or funding, but it is the technical assistance that is essential in order to really, make that financing or funding important. But second is even more important point that you have raised, that agriculture is a serious business. Unfortunately, most of us do not take it seriously and do not take it as a business.
Yeah.
So let us take seriously as a business.
Exactly.
And only then we can, progress, because as you said, it is not a charity, no, not at all. And the farmers do not need that. Yes. They are a production unit. They are actually the first productivity in the world started with agriculture. So they are a productive system in itself, may not be as productive as the factories, but they have the capacity if we approach that from a correct perspective. Okay, now since we are on, this enabling type of things and the operationalization, let's go back to Søren once again, and if you can share with us, because you are, let's say, representing the Danish agriculture and the European industry as well, what do you think could be the pathways where our region can benefit from the European technologies and European investments as well in order to transform our agri-food systems? I mean, what is on offer for us in the region?
It's an interesting question, one that I, of course, will be happy to answer. I think that you basically need three points. First of all, we need to have enabling framework, which means, of course, when government works together, we need to have a framework. We need to have co-investment platform. I think a lot of, especially Danish companies and Danish investments, equity funds, so forth, would feel more comfortable co-financing along with local partners. And then also have a long-term engagement window. I think whenever you do things, you always need to look long-term. I know equity funds normally run 5 to 10 years, but when you are in the finance and the technology business, you don't do things. In agriculture, you will have 1 or 2 harvests a year. You have to think long-term, and you also need to look at the soil and so forth. So I'm also happy that just in March, we signed an MOU between Denmark and the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, working on sustainable agriculture, on food safety and food security. Of course, half of my hat is about food safety from Danish Veterinary and Food Agency, but also on the more commercial side, looking how do I bring innovation and technologies to here, and how do we adapt those technologies to an UAE in order for us to work closer together. So I think it's all about enabling these platforms. So when you have a corporation, if you have openness from local financial institutions, sovereign wealth fund, investors, venture capitals, private family office, and others, to partner together to give that safety, and then to develop a more long-term planning. So I think that would be the way forward. Because it would be difficult just to go from Denmark to here and then set up without the local knowledge, especially in something that is as difficult as agriculture, which also is depending on the farms that are here. Yes. Soil might be different than other things.
Exactly, and in order to, let's say, complete this ecosystem of the enabling platforms, the agripreneurs or agriculture entrepreneurs and small farmers are equally important, or probably the most important part over here. So we'll request Dr. Samer to share your reflections on how can these startups, let's say agri-tech startups, for example, or the agriculture entrepreneurs or agripreneurs, better position themselves or prepare themselves in order to access to these, so-called investments through the sovereign wealth funds or the venture capitals, because they have very specific requirements. How can you be more attractive to them? Over to you.
Thank you, Doctor. By the way, tomorrow I have session in investment office, and we will talk about the financing. So I am inviting you to attend. We will talk this in deeply. And Dr. Ahmad is one of the most important panelists. So just to say
Speaking
that you will come. Okay. Startups. This is the big question. SMEs in general and startups specifically need to speak the language of both worlds. The language of venture capital, which means innovation and speed, and the word of sovereign investment, the impact. As we said in the beginning, high risk, high return. So I don't think that there is an investment from venture capital come to invest without he be convinced that this investment will will have a good innovation and in very quick. And we have many examples in UAE market. And we will not dominate some companies, but many of big companies, they have angel investment. They take over the success investment and they start. So if you want to go back, how we can advise the startup? You know, the agricultural sector in general is the credit for the agricultural sector is less than 1% for the agricultural sector on UAE level. So what is the issue? Issue is with the startup or the companies or the financing institution. So we will talk this tomorrow. But to answer your question, the venture capital, they should demonstrate scalability, clear technology, differentiation. So it's very important to go with tools of innovation and a viable business model. This is very, very important. Sovereign investment, if we want to attract them, they must show alignment with national priorities such as food security, sustainable and local value chain development. They have to feel that there is impact for this business. We have complementary between sovereignty and venture capital. So they have to complete each other. In practical terms, entrepreneur should have at least the minimum requirement. The first one, we can cite here, build strong data and impact matrix. Then seek a strategic partnership with research center or government program that validate their technology. Then focus on long-term collaboration, not just fundraising. We are looking only for the fundraising, but we are not looking for what we have to do to get this fundraising. And finally, startup that combine descriptive ideas with institutional discipline are best positioned to attract both agile venture capital and patient sovereign capital. Then we can talk about the brief, what we can. This is what I think. So we have to work good as a startup.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samer. I think we are also approaching towards end of the session because it's a quick one. If you have any question from the audience or comment, we can take one. But I have one surprise. You know, since you are all experts and His Highness is following this session and he got very happy with your opinions. And His Highness has announced that I will give you 500 million dirhams, but give me in one line, where would you invest? Which type of, venture capital in the agri-tech or others you would pick? I mean, of course, this is a hypothetical scenario. Of course, yeah. I wish His Highness is, listening to us.
Very tough question.
Tough question. No, I mean, seriously, let's say if we get us from a sovereign fund, $500 million, and you are given charge of that one, that invest that, in your view, what would be the best so-called sector within the agriculture or intervention that you would do with that 500 million dirhams?
Myself, biotechnology.
Biotechnology.
Yeah.
Okay. So biotechnology is probably important for Dr. Zaabi.
Yeah.
Søren, for you, which sector would that be?
I also think that biosolutions, biotechnology is one, but I think also aquaculture in this area.
It's part of the biotechnology.
Yeah. But I think that because we need to look into food security, getting proteins closer to the people.
Yeah.
And there is now technologies where you can reduce the energy consumption and reduce the amount of water used available. So I would say maybe looking into biosolutions and biotechnology, but also primary production of, say, aquaculture, fish, shrimps, other things that people eat.
That's added value, really, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Samer.
I will not go far from what they said, biotechnology, but the most important, I think that we have to be aware about the importance of the agriculture sector. We have to be aware about what means food security and agri-tech, the importance of agri-tech. If we are aware from this, I think that everything coming, it will be more easy. Before that, I think that it will be hard to decide, but by buying technology without awareness, I think that we will not go anywhere.
Thank you, but okay, fair enough. So let's make a project to His Highness, 300 million dirhams for biotech,
We are ready.
150 for agriculture, 50 for awareness. So let's combine hands. Okay, now we go to audience. Do you have, we have time for just one question of or comment, if anyone wishes to. So the gentleman, sir, please go ahead. I don't know, do we have any microphones, colleagues? Yes, or maybe, sorry, do we have anything or?
I can't hear.
Okay. I think we can hear you, please. Sorry, the mic is coming.
Shukran, thank you. My name is Amro Zakaria. I'm from Kyoto Network. We work in the green economy space. We've noticed that a lot of NGOs, like the FAO, for example, and others, their standard mode of operation is that they deal directly with governments. However, in some countries, the private sector is much more agile, much more transparent, and much more efficient. What programs are there for the FAO and others from the panelists from Denmark or from the Agri-Food Investment? What programs are there to deal directly with the private sector?
That's a specific question to all, yes.
You wanted to answer, or shall I?
Why don't you start out, then I can supplement.
Okay, I'll do that. Basically, we are streamings with our new strategy to have more collaborations and stick with the private sectors actually. The old models is to purely go directly to the markets and finance the green fields. Brown fields there is by the ground fields. Green fields is it reflects or consider more stakes than others. But we have noticed with the challenge we have discussed it today. Green fields, mostly it's fails, 80% as general statistic, at the end it fails, So collaborates with the private sector, for example, the labs, big farmers with, long historical good records, company with fantastic productions in agriculture. That is, almost successful story, in a way of providing financing. If you want to give you an examples, we have too many examples from Morocco to Oman, throughout the Gulf states. Very successful companies, and we have also increased the capitals. We provide loans. We have established new companies, SPVs, to provide co-finance as well, with all the structure of financings available. So this is the way we are heading right now. Is the private sector? I think is the successful choice in a way of if you are targeting a very successful projects, and at the ends, as we have the gentleman's mentions, the added value will be on the society, even to achieve a part of the food security agenda of the governments, or the food security of the society, providing more employees, more employments, elevate the poverty rates, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zaabi. And now, including your closing points, because we have got a signal. So Søren, Dr. Samer,
I think he want to add a vote.
exactly,
Yeah.
for sure, please, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think it's always good to have a thoughtful and structured way forward, especially dealing with NGOs, startups, and others, that you need to create a nurturing environment where you allow them to grow, and also for some of the adventuralists to also allow somebody to die. There's a lot of things that might be a good idea when you start out, but then once you try to scale it, you find out this will never be bankable, you will not be able to run it.
Exactly.
But to create an environment where you nurture these and help them on the way, I think that's very important. And put the system, I think that's a big part of the job of any government, to take care, to make sure that you have innovation coming up and you nurture those.
Thank you. Dr. Samer, final
I
words, please.
can conclude in that both venture capital and sovereign funds play vital role, but vital and different role, and together they complete the investment ecosystem. Venture capital drives innovation and speed. It supports new technology like agri-tech, precision farming, and alternative proteins, which you mentioned in the beginning. These investors take higher risk to acquisition to bring a new solution quickly to the market. The optimal case, if I say that, what is the optimal case between venture capital and the sovereign fund? The optimal case happens when sovereign funds support and scale the most successful ideas coming from venture-backed startup. This way, short-term innovation becomes long-term impact, ensuring national resilience and global competitiveness. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Since we have to close this now, I think it was an excellent panel, and we learned a lot. I would say the title, as it says, power plays, the sovereign funds versus venture capital. At the end of the day, it all needs a sovereign decision ventured by the private sector, and then everything would, I think, automatically get into that one. So we need a collective decision. I would close it on this thing, that agriculture and food system is a serious business. Let us take it seriously as a business. Thank you so much. Please give a big round of applause to our expert panelists.